Welcome to Oregon Voters Digest, the program that brings forward the social and political issues that are important to people living here in the Pacific Northwest. And now, your host, Bruce Broussard.
Welcome again to this segment of the Oregon Voters Digest. I'm Bruce Broussard, your host, and by George, we really had quite a week last week, and we're going to be right in the midst of 2020. I'm talking about the whole political process here is going to be coming down. Naturally, it's been going heavy ever since President Trump is sitting in the president's seat. He's keeping politics right up front. In fact, it's as if to say we've been campaigning ever since that day. Ever since that day, we've been just campaigning. You know what I mean? He has brought this to light. I mean, all kinds of things are coming to the table as far as politics and what our issues are today. And so, but we're not running, in all due respect, we're sitting up here in Portland, Oregon, or in the state of Oregon, and we're trying to respond to that effort, but it has had an impact on the entire state of Oregon, and more specifically, the largest city in the state of Oregon, and that's right here. See, so that's another thing that we're going to be doing. So anyway, we're going to be getting right into the to the politics of what's happening here within our city. And the upcoming folks, the upcoming elections, if you will, as folks, we've got one here in Oregon, and more specifically in Portland. So that's what we're going to be discussing. In fact, for the next 9 months, we're going to be talking about the city of Portland and the county and maybe the congressional race. There's going to be a congressional race here. Earl Blumenauer is going to have to be up. He's going to have to do his thing at one point in time. And we've got and the various state representative races. We're going to just, in all due respect, Oregon Voters Digest is going to cover as much as we can to share with you just who's going to be taking on the leadership for the next 2 years at 2020. There's going to be a presidential election, but like I said, we're going to be focusing on the issues that are here locally home, right here in Portland, Oregon, okay? And all the folks that are going to be running that will have an impact on that. So that's where we're going. And so sort of kicking it off today is that my guest today, a gentleman by the name of Chuck Crockett. Davy Crockett. You are Davy Crockett. But anyway, I met Chuck when I ran for County Commissioner District Number 2, and he was running for chair, and he did real well. And in fact, he ran a very responsible race, and it's like anything else, trying to compete against that money is not an easy task.
No.
Trust. And then being an African American male is not an easy task.
No.
But the fact of the matter is, he ran a very responsible race. I was, I've run for a number of times, and basically I fell within the same category because as a young person during that particular time when I came here as a Marine recruiter, I've been very much involved in politics, and I've been running, and typically you can't fight the money in the politics in this area, and a lot of times. And right up front with it, the whole issue of, I'm going to use the big R in the but we already know that, right? Okay. But Chuck is here now with us, and so what we're going to do is, my understanding, he's going to be possibly, I'll let him share it with you. But anyway, he's going to stay in the rim because that's how you start in this business. You got to stay there. You got to keep knocking on that door. He really wants to represent the people in the community here. He ran for chair, like I said before. He ran for chair of the county against Deborah Kafoury. Mm-hmm. He ran against Deborah Kafoury, and that was a very interesting race.
Yes, it was.
In fact, that was a very interesting race for the whole county, for that matter.
Yes, it was.
Because we had Sharon Maxwell, who ran for District Number 2. I ran for District Number 2, and then
you also had Deborah Harris.
And Deborah also ran for county chair. She did a good job. She did a good job aspect of it. And sure enough, she's going to be coming here too. And then naturally, we had the whole issue with District Number 2, where Loretta Smith was the sitting incumbent of District Number 2, a district that African American. That was in all due respect, was an African American seat. Gladys McCoy was the one who was chair at one point in time, but she was also part of that district. She ran that district aspect of it, and when she was the chair of that particular, not the chair, but District Number 2 person there. But the fact of the matter is that Loretta picked up the seat, and And in all due respect, that was one of the reasons why I ran. Just to make sure we had some responsibility. It was one of the largest districts in Multnomah County, and the majority of African American lives in that district. And there were some major issues, and there were some services that were not being provided in many ways for that district, and that's one of the reasons why I ran on that piece aspect of it. The mental illness is very much so, that the agencies, and then you find out the racism that was existing in the district at the time that we were running, and that was a very interesting piece. And in fact, of late, when I think about that, I think about some of the issues that were being talked about during the time that we were running. It was I don't remember the young lady's name at that point in time, but that was in the discussion from the standpoint that she was fired. Remember, she was fired, and then all of a sudden she was able to, and the county reacted by basically saying they were going to definitely talk about disparity in the county, and then I just hear of late they've kind of like, they just sort of, after we left, they sort of set it aside again.
Yeah, basically.
And then there's no, they just went back to the deal.
Yeah.
And actually the biggest issue that was there on my end of it, in fact yours too, aspect of it, was the selling of Wapato. The Wapato that was appraised at $100 million, and then that's when I found out and learned that the chair was running everything. The other four commissioners, the other seats, if you will, the other four commissioners, no, is it three? Yes, four of them, right? Four of them. Four commissioners were just sitting there, and the chair was running the whole deal. And so the politics got in with reference to Wapato, and the citizens lost. They left $95 million on the table.
That's true.
Sold it to a flipper. I call him a flipper guy. And then right now the gentleman's name is the Schnitzers. They're a well-known family name, a lot of money, lots of money aspect of it. But it wasn't. But at the end of the day, the Schnitzer picked up the property, and they're holding it now. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. I'm getting ahead of myself.
Oh, no,
I got a guest here. I got a guest named Chuck. I want to talk about Chuck to Chuck. Well, Chuck, welcome aboard.
Oh,
okay,
welcome.
Good. Well, let's talk a little bit about your race first. The one that you ran. You ran for chair.
Oh yeah.
You ran for chair. What do you think? What do you think about that? What were some of the issues that you had on the table?
Well, when I ran for chair, of course it was because, we had a situation where the county was kind of just basically doing what it wanted, and there was no accountability. So a lot of when I ran was to basically bring accountability back to the county. That's why we all ran, because we all actually definitely, most people know that we all definitely actually talked about what we were going to try to do to change the county. And we were able to get a lot of audits and stuff open, but they kind of basically closed them after the race was over, so they could go back to what they were doing. So, well, through the campaign, I was able to actually see and actually experience a lot of, what the workers say, employees, about basically the racism and what they had to deal with as far as the processes of dealing with it, how the money's being allocated. Like, I was actually able to work with a group called IPAC with Pastor Hennessy. I think we both have we had that acquaintance or whatever. So I've actually had a chance to actually work with a lot of these subgroups and actually kind of follow the money trails, you always say, and actually see how it comes back.
Yes.
And it's just crazy. Like you said, Wapato, how they spent, it was like, you said, $95 million just went down the drain. They have the Blackburn Center that just opened up, which is basically just another passing of the money, because, the Wapato Center was $50 million for a center, and they have a center that's basically on sale right now that's comparable for $17 million. It only costs $3 million to to refurbish.
Right.
And that would have basically saved everybody half of their money of what they were spending, but that's not what that was about. That was basically about what we've been looking at the whole time, is all the homes being built, the homeless issue that we have going on with the the rising rent and everything. And as we were talking about, there's a lot of those low-income housing are actually housing people that can actually pay that rent.
Yes.
So
that the county got back in foreclosure.
Yeah, I mean, so
the flippers were there to pick them up for nothing, and that's the system.
And that's the system, and the county has over 100-something buildings that they're just holding on to that they should actually be passing for these kind of programs that people can actually pick up and actually have incentives for, or like there's a disparity in the contracts for construction, where the county can actually do deals with black businesses or whoever they want to do deals with, and then they can actually get funding for that, just by pulling money that they're dedicating to those buildings. They can actually just give this money and allow it to function on its own, because that'll bring in income from all different areas, from job training to education to, you know, services, manufacturing, technology. I mean, it just keeps going. So it's actually very interesting to see that, you know, as after the race, you know, they basically just went back to what they were doing. That was very disheartening. So I've definitely still been working with the city, or reaching out to the city, trying to work with the city, and reaching out to the county, trying to work with the county. You know, after our last race, they haven't been so friendly and answering our calls.
I heard that.
They're definitely not trying to be so friendly.
I heard that.
So definitely trying to stay focused, you know, and stay in the community, and was thinking about actually running for one of the city council
that's good. Great.
positions,
Awesome.
and focusing on, you know, one of the state representative positions, and seeing how we can work to, you know, put one of ourselves in that position, and how we can actually get in these positions to where we can make a difference. You know, because a lot of people don't know, but there's a situation where the police, you know, which is Amanda Fritz's position with the Human Rights and Mayor Ted Wheeler, where they have consecutively had the police refuse to take reports on hate crimes, and that's a human rights issue, you know, and that's something that's not being addressed or isn't even being talked about to the public. And I was actually one of those people. And there's actually, and OPP reached out to me, because they told me, like, we actually have a study going on about
OPP,
this.
that's the radio piece, right?
Yeah.
They interviewed you on that piece?
Yeah, they interviewed me, and they actually were, they have more than just me. There's a few people. They actually have a study going on right now about how they're, like, purposely refusing to take the hate crimes of what's been going on. And, you know, that when you look at that whole scope, you know, and the county or the city or the government's not stepping in, especially we have state representatives that aren't stepping in, so many different people that aren't stepping in. You know, we have governors not stepping, nobody's stepping in, the attorney general's not stepping in. You know, so we have to do what we do and try to get in our positions to where we can make change, not just for black people, but for everybody, because they're basically using, you know, the poor people to get away with what they're doing. And that's really what it is. You know, they're looking to say, oh, we did what we did. You know, we spent, you know, $54 million on a 175 bed, you know, billing for homelessness. But, you know, you could have went and spent that $54 million in a better way for, you know, amount of homes of private homes, you know, people who have all these old duplexes and all this other stuff that could actually went to actually providing thousands of homes for 54 for and different services. So, you know, that it's just crazy how,
you know, you make a point about the whole foreclosure concept that they have. Like you said, they'll put it on the block, and only a few people can bid on it, on those homes or buildings or whatever.
Oh yeah, you need you know, specific business license.
You got to have cash money when you get up there, and then they flip the property. They get the property, then they remodel it. Okay, they remodel it and whatever, and then go back to the county and lease it long term.
Yeah, those 99-year loans for most people don't know that, is that, you know, when the county builds something or the city builds something, they're only leasing them for 99 years. After 99 years, they get to walk with their property free, and the government's helping pay for that. So, and like I said, they're doing it with the foreclosure of the buildings and the homes. Look at how they're swooping up people's homes, where you know, they're going around. City of Portland's just trying around tagging people for this and tagging people for that, and getting them for this and getting them for that, and these repairs like in Northeast Portland. You know, they're going around tagging people's sidewalks, you know, for thousands of dollars in repair, you know, and people, of course, people are doing it themselves, but they're like, you know, if I didn't know how to do this myself, then this would be, you know, a $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 repair that the city could charge you for, and then they're going to lien on your house after that, and then there goes the price.
Community's gone.
And it's gone.
Can't afford it.
There you go.
Wow. And so you ask yourself the question about, that's the whole system from the standpoint that the leadership, normally the elected folks who are elected to office, are the ones who are supposed to be the caretaker of that, to make sure that the community is doing well, diverse, the whole 9 yards. But you know, but as you like myself, you learn that these behind the door scenes kind of situation.
Oh man,
there's behind the door scenes, and it really woke up my eyes when I was running for that county, just like you said, county, but other positions too. But the fact that the relationship that the county has with the city, you know, that kind of a deal. They basically identify certain things, but it's all really one deal. And I'll do it if I had my brothers, if I was totally in charge, I would just have one. You know, you increase increase the seats down at the city. You got my point? And just do a one deal. At least you'll have some idea what the issues are. Got me?
Yeah, I think definitely
what
to
I'm
have some
saying?
kind of intergovernmental
Yes,
meeting,
right,
and with
right.
certain issues, they
Yes.
can't have two separate, like
Yeah,
how they
right.
have housing for the
Yeah,
county and then housing for the city. That
Hey,
definitely needs
and you
something.
don't know
with
where
it.
the money is.
And nobody
Yeah,
knows, you
yeah,
know.
yeah. And a good example of that is just, for instance, with the whole issue with all these buildings that we've been doing, you got all these high rises going up in the northeast Portland corridor, right in the middle, in all due respect, of the black community.
Yeah, the actual,
Yeah, the
you
actual
know, the
building.
actual wealthy black community that actually got money to be there. So yeah, you know, it's hitting hard. You can see it.
It's really hitting hard because at one point in time there was an effort that was made years back. It was called District 18.
Oh, yeah.
District 18, and I just happened to have been at the Portland Observer at the time. And during that particular time, you know, we kind of got together. Ron Herndon was part of the deal too, and there was a lot of activities going on during that particular time. And we were able to gerrymander the area such that a number of the people in District 18 were black. Probably the closest thing to getting more blacks, with effectively they could have a say in a district. You got my point? Not that it was a black district. It was a representative district where a number of the residents were black. See, and so that was the whole idea. And then naturally, the idea is that a person could run for office like anybody else. And the first time around, there was a squabbling for the seat, and a gentleman by the name of Ed Leake, he was a neighbor of mine, he was a white guy, and he won the first time around. And then, in fact, I even asked him, you know, hey man, do something. And, you know, he responded. But then at the end of the day, he said, well, look, I'm just going to give it up and allow somebody else to run for that particular seat. And then naturally, we try to get some more folks in there. Bang Bang Walker, Chad Dedham, and Harold Williams, and a lot of guys. We was trying to get some males in there. You know, we needed to get a male in that particular seat, because too often they tend to, you know, the way the system works, they tend to identify our women.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I'm not knocking i.e. the female side of the piece, but you know, you hear so much about males, you know, from the standpoint that they're deadbeat dads, and we're all getting caught up in a whole bunch of crime, all kinds of good stuff, and we just end up. But we're very family oriented. You know, a lot of folks don't realize that. Definitely. But anyway, the whole idea was that we was going to get Harold in there in many ways, and so at the end of the day, the other entity came in there and brought Margaret. Margaret just came to town, so to speak, and I have nothing against Margaret aspect of it, but she again didn't have any idea about. She wasn't born here, wasn't raised here, this, that, and the other, and so the power base came in and put her in place. Because the other thing the reason why we wanted to make sure we got somebody from the community was that when they get elected to office, they would be focusing on that community, and they would know the people, and they would know some of the issues. But by getting just a person who doesn't have any background whatsoever, that's why they had the money. And in fact, I'm still thinking about that today, and a little disappointed. Vera Katz was very much involved. In fact, Deborah's mother,
Gretchen
Kafori, was very much involved, and they found Margaret and got her a job at Portland Community College, and that was it. She was in Salem. She was in Salem and for about 24 years, and you know what I mean. Just basically, that's where the black community was, and a few people got a couple of dollars. You know, some of the other leaders, and you I'm sure you know who I'm talking about. You know, and then nothing happens, and so we had the district. All of many of the federal dollars, when it came to the state for affirmative action, came to that district. That was the decision maker right there. But then guess what? Everybody writes off on it. And as you see, you know, when you think about the PDC, you think about the housing. The definition of PDC was that it was supposed to basically develop home ownership for folks in that community. Home ownership.
Oh, definitely.
And it just went all out the drain. I mean, I can go on and on with the story, but my point is that we
I actually want to touch on that home ownership when you get done.
Okay, so,
Oh yeah, because
hold on.
I think when you I think you remember last year when we were talking about the housing issue when we had our campaigns, is one of the things that got overlooked is we actually put forth a 4-year housing bill that was nowhere near as expensive as $100 million a year, a housing bill that actually would allocate, you know, 10,000, because there's around 40,000 people they're homeless in Portland, but there's a 4-year, $100 million housing bill that was actually put. I know I put it out. Actually, sent it to Cupid Alexander, the mayor's housing policy advisor, and I know Deborah Harris was also talking about it too. And I know we actually all were talking about it, is that we actually put forth a plan that if you took a look at home ownership then rather than renting, and we actually put forth, like I said, a 4-year, $100 million plan. It was $100 million, every year, and even though it was $400 million over the 4 years, it would actually erase the homeless issue of around the 40,000 people, because you would be actually putting 10,000 people a year in homes, so that it would actually, erase that need for rentership, and would actually, kind of give us a clean slate.
Right.
It would actually erase the problem that we're having with the housing crisis. And then from there, we can go from renting, housing rates, where we're going to go there, because now we've solved the issue of the homelessness issue. And that's why when you said, when people claim the district or they're allocating the funds, that's a prime example. They'll allocate $400 million. But I think, what is it? Metro wanted $400 million for that, but they don't want to allocate the $400 million to down payments or getting with the banks to actually make home ownership, which solves the homeless problem. They'd rather just say, let's give $400 million, and then we're going to keep building these houses, and we're going to keep paying Section 8, and we're going to keep doing this and keep doing that, and we're not going to solve the problem. And that, in turn, just creates a more expensive bill for the taxpayer and the city that people are living in. And that's why they can't get a hold of it, because as long as they're going about it.
Then you had Mayor Wheeler sitting in the seat, see?
And then he even admitted that he failed. He's already apologized for failing his right to return policy. With 21 million, they couldn't even, they only with 9 houses, and this was 21 million.
Chuck, and as you make that point about the fact that I brought up his name, and again, that's another reason why I'm thinking about running for office too, running for that seat, to educate the people.
Oh, definitely.
To educate the people, because at one point in time, he started off in politics at the county as chair. He was chair of of the county, of Multnomah County, across the board. Okay, and he spent 4 years there. So, okay, now you got the mayor, but he went from there to the treasurer's seat. Got me? So where the money's was, right? Then after he did the chair, the deal there, then he came here and he became mayor of the city of Portland. So he already knew about the issues that were happening up in the Northeast Portland corridor. Okay, he knew about the District 8. He knew all the history, and I interviewed him, and I knew he didn't have anything that was history. I mean, I didn't realize after a certain period of time, he was born and raised here in Portland.
Oh, definitely.
He was born and raised here in Portland, and as you see, his whole approach to the community over there, this community over here, is a handoff deal. Like he doesn't have anything to do with it whatsoever. He would have known about the points that you were made about, talked about the housing and PDC and the direction they were trying to offset, if you will, and make sure the true diversity was there, and assimilation, and making sure, and fairly being done, making sure, because blacks were just renting. They weren't homeowners. You got me? And so you would have thought he would have understood that. But basically, when he got in the mayorship piece his whole campaign was basically handing out high-rise permits. High-rise permits.
And Antifa defense.
You understand where I'm coming from? High-rise permits and Antifa piece aspect of it. And then all this work that we had done, and a lot of people had worked during that particular time in the early days on affirmative action and trying to get minority contractors, and we went to the state and did that whole piece, because they were doing it fractured, and yeah, at the Observer we were hitting hard during that particular time, but the bottom line is that all that work just went down the drain, and you would think that a mayor with his kind of background, having been born here, okay, and and actually wherever we went to school, he had to have seen some blacks. You got me? And he should have reached out, but he never did. I mean, all due respect, I interviewed him. When he interviewed me, he talked as if he didn't know anything about it. I didn't know the guy was living here. Isn't that something? And he was at the county. He understood about the racism. He was right there for 4 years.
Oh, definitely.
But my point is that there was no reaction. Then you look at the staff and who he appointed and how he acted as chair of the county, was as if he was a total foreigner. A total foreigner. Did nothing while he was there. And so a lot of this stuff just went down. So when he came back down for mayorship, when the building and all that economic development money came in aspect of it, it was just taken out. He just spent the money any way he wanted to.
Oh, definitely.
See, and again, and people are really upset with that whole piece.
Yeah, because you're spending money just on the police. And
yes, and then the homeless problem, shouldn't have no homeless problem.
No, if you have that much
there.
money.
And but he was there.
Yeah.
He was there. He had relationship with the mayor at that point in time.
Yeah, he did.
And he had we shouldn't have had one. We have a housing authority of Portland. I'll give you a good example of that. And you know when this big migration with folks came in from back east, started coming in the community aspect of it, there's a thing called Housing Authority of Portland, low-income housing for folks, right? Got me? And right today there's a long line, but you have to go make application. You have to be within a certain range. You know what I mean, in terms of income and things of that nature. And I had always been laying in the paper basically input, output, and throughput. Input, when you first get in there, you got some income coming in, and your rate was based on how much money you had, your income. But the whole idea that you'd be in a housing unit, like a regular apartment. But the next step was going to be basically you would go and lease a house. They'd give you a house to live in with a family, a house, and the county would still own that house. Then the idea is you learn how to be able to maintain that house, you know what I mean, that kind of thing. And the next step was to buy. That should have been the next step. And then the city was very much involved. We got anything called PCRI. Some guy went bankrupt and they left a whole bunch of houses, I guess, and then the city, all of a sudden the city got into the rent business. They got the rent business. So my point, they had that housing piece, then they had the housing piece in the county aspect of it. So it made good sense, if you will, that person should have had a smooth flow. The person would start here at the apartment aspect of it, come over, learn how to maintain stuff, right? Get a better job, get into one of those lease housing situations, right? And the next step is to buy. And they could have bought from that so-called inventory of homes from foreclosures to the county, and this other big batch of houses they picked up. Got me? And then input out. So then another person would be allowed to come in and go through the same process.
That's what we're talking about. The county's housing all these foreclosed homes and everything.
Yes.
And there's no, like I said, there's no reason why people can't have homes. It doesn't make any sense. The county should have it definitely.
Yes.
And that's something we pushed home that last year. We did. We were talking about all those houses and foreclosed, everything they're sitting on that.
And the buildings owned, and like you said, and the buildings that were owned, that they owned, they could have refurbished those in the housing.
There you go. And education and training and everything. I mean,
it was the whole deal.
I mean, you can literally put people to work. I mean, you can literally make. I mean, they got so much technology from cameras to cell phones to anything. I mean, from farming to food, and I mean, there's so many different. To energy. I mean, literally. I mean, the county always has construction going on. You know,
exactly.
I mean, you can literally. Do so many different things, like you said, with the county in charge, literally, of foreclosures and all these buildings and everything. They can literally, I mean, of course, the foreclosures and stuff in the banks, on the foreclosure or whatever has a loan or whatever, but the county actually does own some of those houses, and they're foreclosing, and they're doing things where they can actually set up contracts that actually mandate that some of these houses are actually going to go towards a program. I mean, because you have thousands and thousands of foreclosed homes a year, and the banks are just passing it back and forth to home loans, and you can step in the middle of that and create mandate that these homes are actually be given, like you said, and how much money do you make, and you're paying this, and this is what your situation is going to be. And we can definitely we could take everybody off the street. I mean,
and then so you look at it now, we got all these high rises, and we had an affirmative action program, right, to make sure that, in all due respect, that the definition of minorities, many of them, as a result of that, was black. That's how it all started, basically. But now that we've added so many other ethnic groups involved in the deal. But the fact of the matter is that the whole idea was to support those people going into business, give them jobs, so they can pay those mortgage notes, right? Pay the rent, whatever. But now all of a sudden, you when you drive down the streets here in the city of Portland, how many African Americans do you see?
Oh man,
are you
depends on where you're at.
So check it out. Here's the biggie. When you look at it in terms of now, the thing is, give it to one minority. I mean, that's what happens. They just give it to one person. You know, in most cases, they don't have pretty well too much control about the whole piece, and so you got a minority contractor, and they take up 80% of the other 80% of other minorities that can work on different trades, if you will. You got me? And because they're the minority, the other owner or whatever don't demand, and in most cases, again, the city or the county don't demand under the criteria that they hire more blacks or hire more or hire other minorities and women. Got me? So that's why we're right back to square one again. See? You just got one or two or three, and then at the end of the day, they're not doing what we're talking about on the front end. The front end is learning a trade.
Or learning something you can survive on.
See what I mean? So they can pay those rent, i.e. to counter the homelessness aspect of it, because they can't afford the rent anymore.
No, they can't.
They were renting. First they were renting. Now they can't afford the rent. So where are they going? So they're being pushed out, gentrification, being pushed towards the Gresham aspect of it. A lot of the homeowners and renters that were living in that community, they're gone.
Oh, definitely, they're gone. You can't. I mean, it's too expensive.
It's very much.
Home ownership is the only way to combat that rentership.
Very much. So.
And like you said, with the trades and getting the income, and be able to do that, because, I mean, if you look at just how they're spending the money, I mean, it's just, we can just tell they're just passing the money back and forth, and they're not really solving the problems, and people's voting habits are actually fueling that. People are actually afraid to vote for something different, or actually put their energy into something different and believe in something different, and they don't understand that. Like your show, that's exactly what it's dedicated to, is to actually educate people on their vote and show them that you have to actually use your vote. Your vote has to make someone accountable. So if they're not doing what they're supposed to do, that means that they don't get the vote, and you're not going to get support because you're not changing things. And that's something that isn't touched up on enough, is when people vote. You don't need to be afraid to vote for someone because you don't understand them or whatever. If they're making sense and they're on point, like how we are, when we're making sense on point, then they need your support, because if you keep voting for the same demographic, keep voting for the same people, like you said, Wheeler, Italy, and all these all these people that are like, oh, I'm the perfect
no
citizen.
Background. That's right.
Yeah, I'm no background. They don't have any grassroots connection. The grassroots
no
connection.
Compassionate for what they're supposed to do. It's supposed to be community, a better place to live.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Across the board, for everybody. You know
Definitely.
It's
so watered down. It's you can tell they have no grassroots connection to the people.
Exactly.
And that's really missing. Like, if you try to email one of the commissioners.
No phone calls.
There you go.
No
That's
response.
all you got to say.
No response.
Try to get in contact with them.
No response. And in fact, I want to make mention now, and just got a little ad commercial, so to speak, is that again I'm speaking right now to Chuck Crawford. Again, he Crockett. Yeah, I keep that. I don't know why I get that. But anyway, but I got Mr. Crockett here, and we're just kind of having a conversation like normally the viewing public should be able to do. But again, because you lack, if you will, the information in the background about what happens in this whole political scene, and you got to do it, because those are the people that are in charge of the monies.
Definitely.
When people talk about government, that's what I'm talking about.
The government.
These are real folks. These are real individuals. Don't just use the word government, because you don't know, but that's who has the purse strings. That's who basically identifies where we're going, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So that's what we're talking about right now, and we're going to be having these kinds of talks for the next 9 months. But we're going to have something in the front of our name, and it's a very legitimate thing. He might be running for city council. I'm going to be running for mayor. So consequently, as far as I'm concerned, I'm the mayor. When I file to run for office, I'm going to be mayor for 9 months.
Definitely.
You're going to be a city council person for 9 months, and anybody else running for office. And we encourage you to file to run for office, and you'll come to this table, and hopefully you've got some background. And if not, we'll learn something, because that's what we're doing. Because we're sharing information right now. As the old saying goes, no man's an island.
Oh, definitely, and especially when you're running for mayor, and one thing I have to say is definitely on your show is that listen to the facts when you're stating the facts, and when other candidates come up and they want to try to dispute the facts, or they want to try to act like they're the perfect candidate, just check the numbers. When you're talking what you're talking about, check the numbers, because that's definitely something that we found when we're giving out the information, and when we gave out in our last campaign's information is that a lot of people actually went back and they were like, okay, you guys were right. Even the Oregonian, everybody was actually had to admit, this group of people, they were correct in what they said. Like they deserved our vote, and they had to go back and they had to, actually admit that they were wrong. And so that's where the education, the numbers come from, is when this race is going on and these campaigns are going on. Stop listening to the feel-good speech. Stop listening to this. Stop listening to that. Listen to the numbers and listen to what's being said and pay attention to that, because there's too much feel-good going on and playing on people's emotions, and they're hiding people, from the data. And the data is really what matters, because if they're making you feel real good, and they don't have the data to support it, then something's right.
Yes,
you
very
know
much
something
so.
ain't right. That's how you know that's not going to work.
Very much so. And I might add, I appreciate that those points that you made, because when we throughout this election process, these 9 months, anybody running for whatever position they're going to be running during this particular time, I'm going to invite them to come to the show.
Definitely.
But at the same time, they got to be talking about issues that they know about.
Data.
I'm not interested in their birthdays and this, that. I want some meat that will talk to bettering our way of life out there. You got me? Naturally, we got some of the major highlights right now. That's the problem we're stuck with right now. The leadership that we have right now, we got a clean house.
No, definitely.
And I'm getting straight up. I mean, it's impacting me. It's impacting you. And I'm just saying. And so I'm not angry at them. I'm just saying we just have to change criteria. We got a homeless problem because we got people that are sitting up here trying to address these issues, have no niche, no idea of what to do.
I'm saying if you're making $100,000, just to make policy, I mean, really, let's just think about it. They're all getting paid $100,000 a year. By the time they're done, they all would have made basically $500,000.
That's right. They get those perks.
So they're like, by the time I'm done with this, I'll be wealthy anyway. Who really cares? I got my benefits. I got my government pension. Because there's always benefits that when you become a government official. Most people don't know that you always get benefits that follow.
Called PERS.
PERS. There you go. You get all this extra stuff. And then so they're kind of like, once they get there, especially people are challenging what they're saying. Like, oh, whatever. They're done. I mean, look at, like you said, look at the council right now. I mean, look at the commissioners right now. I mean, they're done. You can tell when you go look at them, and you can see them. They even say it. They're like, oh yeah. They're like, I'm glad you're running again, or they're like, nope, I'm done. I'm good, because they don't want to take the heat.
Acting like corporate employers. I mean, corporate. I mean, my point is that, it's as if to say we're the employees, but in all reality, we're the owners.
Oh, definitely.
You know what I'm saying? But that's the attitude. I mean, when you call those, in fact, I'll throw something out to you. I just recently went up to the mayor's office just before the March thing and whatever, and I had some points I wanted to share with him, because I had some concerns, because here we were with this marching thing downtown, and people were scared. They didn't know what was going on. And then there were some simple things I wanted to know. Did they get a permit? Was there a requirement for a permit? And I'm not just including him. I'm including the other commissioners too. Too often there's just one person. No, there are 5 people that I'm looking at.
Definitely, yes.
They're all employees of us.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? They work for us. Got me? But a lot of times it's just the opposite. They feel they don't have to answer anything. But I went up there, knocked on his door, went inside, introduced myself. Didn't have any time. So I filled out a piece of paper. They said, look, I just want to talk to the mayor. Well, what do you want to talk to him about? Well, I want to talk to him, but okay, fine. I'll say in general, whatever. I want to talk to him about this. And at the end of the day, I've never gotten any return calls whatsoever. I've never gotten any return call when I ran for mayor to begin with. I called him up again that first time, because I was going to tell him on my mind, what are you bringing to the table? First off, I want you to come down to the show and educate the people. And if you don't know, I'll tell you. I'll help you out. Because he had the money. So my point is that, and when I see the guy, it's as if, he just doesn't know how to deal with me. Look, I do have some experience. I've been around. Got my point? See what I'm saying? And all I was saying, I got a resume, but I'm looking at his resume, and he doesn't have. So I'm saying, okay, fine. The way the system plays today is that if you don't have the money, you can't win anything.
That's true.
And because 85 to 90% of the public out there, the voting public, they have no idea of what's going on. They look at those individuals like they're employers, like they're totally in charge. You have no say. You do have a say, and that's that vote. But unfortunately, we don't get together. And that's what I'm sharing with you. If you're looking at this particular show, this is an educational piece. These are not sound bites.
No, no, no.
This is not three minutes in the front of the county, or 3 minutes in the front of the city council when you go down to the city, that you got to go downtown and all that congested traffic and this, that, and the other, and you don't know. I mean, when you get there for 3 minutes, you already lost what you're going to say. How are you going to be able to communicate in 3 minutes? That's why we have an hour show aspect of it. That's why we have this particular medium. It's supposed to be. It was Portland Community Medium when I got involved with this piece. Portland Community Medium. The first time the mayor got in, Mayor Wheeler got in, he changed the name. It's called Open Signal. How does that translate? And plus the fact it's not on the major networks. Okay? And in all due respect, if you don't have Comcast, you can't see this show.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense.
Isn't that something? It just doesn't make sense. It's a people's show. It's a community show. And every show that's being telecast here at this particular facilities is about community. That 10% of the people, if you will, that in most cases we want to make sure that they are just as viable as anyone else. And to the majority community, and to those leaders that are out there, to educate them about what's going on. That's why they can't answer those issues about the homeless problem today. The people who are actually in the homeless aspect of it, you can understand what the problem is just looking at some of these shows and the people that are here in many ways.
Definitely. I mean, just look at the...
But they shut them off. But that's going to be one of the things I'm going to require big time.
Well, definitely.
Portland Community Medium is going to be a part of the whole deal. Bring out the rabbit ears or whatever's necessary. Because we do own the airways. I think we do. You know what I'm saying? But, now it's kind of like the big cup about they own it. But no, that's another area we need to look at. We're going to have all they should be just like OPB, Oregon Public Broadcasting or whatever. Which that's another issue. But this particular medium, i.e. Open Signal, actually, if I had my brothers, once I'm there, I'm going to change the name back to Portland Community Medium, because they need to be educated. Got me? And I think that's a very, very important thing. So again, here we are, we're talking. Chuck Crockett, he's going to be running for city council some way, shape, or form, and I'm going to be running for mayor. And he's going to be a city council person from the time he files, and that's just next month, September the 12th. That's the first day for filing, per se. Well, he's indicating the fact that he's seriously looking at that. In fact, he's looking at the Amanda Fitch seat, because she's going to be one of the commissioners. They're going to be out, or if not that, you daily, and that's another situation aspect of it. But the fact of the matter is, those seats are going to be open, and we got until the May primary. And you got from this point to this point, it's about 9 months, and we're going to be talking.
Oh, definitely.
And if hopefully the mayor will come, and I'm not trying to say anything negative. Hey, I want him to come on. He is the present mayor. He's our representative. He's our mayor. So I want him to come on the table and talk about, for instance, like the demonstration the other day. I mean, he's getting political points, you know what I mean, to saying how great it was. We didn't have any shootings and fighting and this, that, and the other. But as far as I'm concerned, we shouldn't have even had a march without a permit. They should have had a permit. Those young guys, and I was a Marine recruiter at one time. When I looked at those guys doing that kind of thing as a recruiter, those are the first guys I would have ran and got. In the Marine Corps, we'd pick them up. See, take those handkerchiefs off. I mean, I'm very familiar with the First Amendment, freedom of speech, right? But no, not that way. No, it's got to be orderly deal, because it's impacting the rest of us. The 95% of the public population. I mean, think about it. I think that march probably went into the impact of all the citizens, impact of people besides the businesses and this, that, and the other. It's not just business. People couldn't just go and access town. They were scared. They didn't know who was going to be coming into town, because we have a sanctuary city kind of concept, and people were coming over from all over the world for that matter, coming here into Portland, Oregon. You got me? Anything could have happened.
I think that has something to do with not just with like you said, the mayor, and I don't think that the police aspect, of how the mayor conducts himself, and like you said, the Amanda Fitch, the Human Rights Commissioner, conduct themselves when they're actually dealing with, or the commissioners themselves all together when they conduct themselves with the police. Because if you look at the police, one of the first questions I have to ask is with the police is the accountability of the police, and and what their known connection to these groups are, and then we need to break that down, because they have connections to these groups, and that's kind of getting fueled. So, a lot of this, like you said, this shouldn't be able to happen because not just, a First Amendment right or a threat to the community, but there are actual members of these groups that are with the police. And that are actually out there doing the same thing to actually excite they want the same result as a riot or the fight or whatever. And when you have with, like I said, a police chief and outlaw who just sits quietly by while the mayor does whatever and she doesn't step up. I mean, she has her own issue with like I said, working with IPAC and that what I exposed with IPAC, and like I said, that having its issue. I don't want to go too far on that.
I understand.
And then the police chief, her coming from her issue from Oakland. And it kind of just raised the eyebrows. Like, okay, when are we going to be accountable for the police and their work, spending ever more money on them?
Right.
They're costing the city more money because people are filing more lawsuits against the police, and most people don't understand that the police budget is just one part of it. There's a lawsuit part of it that the auditor's office and the council has to pay out. And if you look at the city agenda, we're paying out $40 and $50, $60,000 for at least 6 or 7 lawsuits. Every week. You know what I mean? And then that turns around and it's more expensive than the police budget that they're actually talking about, because if you look at the police budget, you're like, oh, it's 200 million, 300 million, but then you look at up. And when you look at the lawsuit aspect of it, you're seeing the same thing, 200 million, 300 million. So it's really a 600 million, 700 million dollar police budget instead of what they're showing you, and there's no accountability for that. And I think that gets overlooked as of their functions and how expensive that is. Because how much you say that was a $5 million, $5 million, protest or whatever. And
I'd say 10. You know what I mean? When you start really adding the real cost.
Yeah, the real cost.
You got my point? Got me?
And then they even said that they're doing that to show the police's over excessive use of force.
Yes.
And so how you combat that is you don't show that excessive use of force. You stop letting them play you on what they know how you're going to react. They're not going to let them waste taxpayer money where you calling people from Bend and Seattle and Minville and Feds and everybody. And then they're all responding like it's millions and millions and wasted taxpayer money.
You know what category it falls in? It's called OPM. You know what OPM is? Other people's money.
Oh, I know what that means. Yeah. I thought you were talking about something.
It's called other people's money.
That's true. When you're spending other people's money.
You're sitting up there and you're talking about budgetary. It's not going to impact you. Okay, in some cases it'll be benefiting you because there might be some side deals, whatever. So it's impacting you.
We need to look at that too.
OPM,
them side deals going on.
Always OPM kind of a situation. And it's sad to have that kind of perception, but that's my opinion, because it's my opinion because I've been in the process somewhat, because I've run for office. All this business about perennial and this, that, and the other, and whatever, and I'm not for this, that. No, I've been in this system. That's why I'm saying I am mayor right now. I'm telling you folks right now, I'm running for office. I'm in office. Now, as soon as I file September the 12th, I'll get a little bit more out of guns, because I'm going to go back to the auditor's office and say, look, I want an audit. I want to see that number that you said that some other entity said it was about $3 million. That's what it cost the citizens, the taxpayers. And it was just nonchalant. It's about $3 million. No, I want to see the figures. I mean, they said they had 1,000 police officers there. 1,000. They said they had other cities that had folks there. Those folks didn't come down here for free.
No, it costs money.
It costs money. Every dime costs. It costs
gas,
money across all over the place. That's what and then the housing thing. You think about it, say, well, okay, fine.
Hotels.
What happened if all of a sudden they estimated it was about 1,200 people? What if there was a riot? You don't sit up there and say, well, I'm going to get the housing after there was a riot. But you normally get the housing before, wouldn't you think so? So that means someone had to have those houses sitting on the side just in case that happened, right? So we don't have enough of those houses. I know Sheriff Reese, who's an elected official at the county, doesn't have 1,200 houses ready to go. Okay, so where does he get them? So he's got to go out and lease them. You got to find a place for them. So that money had to be set aside for that. right?
Definitely.
And normally, when you go down to lease a piece of property, what do they tell you? They say, well, look, you can pay after you get through getting in it. They say, no, you pay up front, right?
Mm-hmm.
See what I'm saying? So people need to be told the truth. And maybe these folks that are in these leadership positions, I'm saying fine, but there's no entity to basically put it on the table about the plan and the results of the plan.
Mm-hmm.
That's the problem that I see from what I've learned, if you will. And those are the questions that I'm asking, so to speak.
There are no results.
Yeah, that's all.
Yeah, I agree. Everybody's talking.
Yes.
We haven't seen any results, and I
Yes.
think it's time for the voters to actually stand by that and say, look at them in their face and say, you don't have any results.
That's right.
Like, it doesn't matter what you say, there are no results.
That's right.
So
and you're paying for it.
Yeah, we're all paying for it. We're all paying for it.
Everybody's paying
Everybody
for it.
paying for it.
And the person who's getting the dollars, I want them to do the job. That's all I'm at.
Oh, definitely.
I'm not anti anybody for that matter. I
No.
want some results for the dollars I put out there.
Oh no, I
very
agree.
simple.
I agree. Like,
Yeah,
we
but-
all want results. I mean,
Yeah.
who wants to be taxed and be doing all this,
Yes.
and you're not even getting the benefit
Exactly.
of what
Exactly.
you're paying taxes
Exactly.
with? That doesn't make
Yes.
any kind of sense. I mean, you said it
Exactly.
best. There are no results.
Yes.
I mean, I couldn't have said it any better. I mean, when you look at all the empty promises and all the candidates. I mean, not the candidacy, but the campaigns and
Yes.
and all the people that have been elected. I mean, from all elected officials, you just really have to look and say, where are the results?
Yeah.
And if you don't have results,
Yeah.
then I think it's time that we assess what you're doing there.
Yes.
And we can't vote for you anymore.
Yes.
We can't support
Yes.
anything like
Yes.
that anymore. We
Yes.
have to go a completely different direction this
Yes.
time, because we've been down as voters.
Yes.
We continue to vote
Yes.
down the same road.
Yes.
The feel good person, or I'm going to do this,
Yes.
I'm going to do that.
Yes.
I'm like you said, people, I'm going to do this for housing, I'm going to do this for
Yes.
homeless, I'm going to do, and these
They
people
have
have
no
been
even-
in politics
Yes.
for years and have done nothing,
On the job training.
basically.
You understand me? But they don't have the book there. See, they don't have the trainers there to train them. It's on the job.
Oh yeah.
You get elected and then you learn the job. It takes you the first term, the first 4 years, to kind of get a sense of what you need to do. And that's basically what it all happens. That's the way it all happens. And I'm not trying to take anything away from the mayor, but as far as I'm concerned, when he was at the county, he learned the first 4 years. When he, kind of like he was there, OJT. Then he should have ran again. And then had he won again, he'd had some idea of what the problem was and what the issues were. Then he could probably do some things. But he basically just got the job and left.
I think that
With the treasurer. Then the same thing with the mayor right now. And I'm just saying straight up, he can't debate me.
I don't know, and I think that's what
He can't debate you.
I think that's what
That's
it
what the
really
deal
comes.
is.
Now I think that's what it really
OJT,
comes down to.
on the job training.
Yeah.
See, and I'm saying that they should even change the criteria as far as running for office, as far as the application process. They should list maybe the top 3 major issues that's facing the city right now.
Mm-hmm.
And then when a person comes in to run for office, you can run, but you got to come in and you got to identify specifically, respond to those issues,
And you must be held to
and the
to
results,
those results.
and the resolution.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Put it down there, and then have a committee together that could look at those kind of situations, and they would make an evaluation. They say, oh, this person would be a better blah 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 to run, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And at the end of the day, those would be the candidates. Now we're getting something for our monies.
Mm-hmm.
But otherwise, you can just go up there and you can change your name to Mickey Mouse and sign your name and put a P.O. box and you're in.
Basically. And like I said, when it comes down to the facts, I mean, like you said, the debates are actually really big, because last year in the debates, I mean, we swept the debates.
Yeah.
All of us did.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that got.
Yeah.
And if you look at the media coverage of
Yeah.
it didn't get the media coverage
No.
it's supposed to, because
No.
they didn't want that
No.
getting out. They didn't
Yeah.
want the candidates that they had put
Yeah.
their support behind and watch them get
Exactly.
Exactly. Basically destroyed in the debates because
Exactly.
they didn't, they were just in that feel good stuff. And we were in the
Exactly.
debates spitting
Exactly.
data and facts
Yeah.
and and they couldn't keep up with that. And they
Exactly.
were like, okay, well, let's go, since I am an acting, chair, I am an acting
Yes,
official,
yes.
let's get this swept under the
Yes,
rug.
yes,
And
yes.
so we can make it
Yes.
look like we didn't
Yes,
do anything,
yes. Yes.
And that's something real big. Like, I've been working with NAACP, real heavy, to deal with a lot of, these issues that are dealing with people. And that's one thing I've noticed, is that you know, the city council is not, you know, the government is not very open to these, like the Urban League audits, you know, the NAACP audits of civil rights. They're not really open to that, you know, not to say that, you know, those are perfect organizations, you know, but it's the chapter here we have in Portland is actually very revolutionary, you know, and we actually have a very good president, E.D. Mundane, and he's actually very strong and powerful, so he was a very good replacement for Joe, and hard to see that. So, but if we look at, you know, attacking these issues and what's been spoken out and addressing these issues with accountability, I think that's something that a lot of people have been saying, is that we need accountability and resolution. The officials don't need to be able to just go there and do whatever they're doing without their kind of some checks and balances, and they have the power to set that up and do that. Like the auditor, the auditor needs to put out more information. They need to stop
That's
waiting.
their job.
Yeah, that's their job.
You know, that's anything young. That's their job.
They need to be doing that 24/7 instead of every couple of years.
Of the money, okay?
That's what it is.
If the money is being paid for this, then what are the results? Just lay it, very simple.
Yeah.
And the old KISS adage, keep it simple, stupid.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? You got me? And by the way, folks, we got about 2 more minutes here now, but as you can see, we've just been having a discussion, and I'll be right up front with you. A lot of you have these discussions all the time. You get angry about this stuff. You talk about this over the fence and you at your home to your neighbor and this, that, and the other, and then all of a sudden there's an election and you don't show up. I'll be straight up. You got to show up now. It's a very important time now. We need to show up. We're in a crisis right now. We got some issues that you want resolved. We got homeless issues. We got needles all over the street. We got our animals. We got our kids. We got folks putting tents all over the place. We got problems. And the only way we're going to solve that problem, we need true leadership. So, hey, I'm encouraging you. If you've got some background and it's beyond on-the-job training kind of a situation, that's the only thing you bring to the table, hey, find somebody. You know those people that have some background. Tell them to file, to run for office. Run for office. Get up there and do it. I don't give a darn if you got 50 people running for mayor. If they got something to contribute, let's do it. This is the time to do it. And right up front, I'll tell you right up front with you that all you have to do is mention the Trump name, and everybody's at the table right now. Well, put the Trump name in Portland, Oregon. We got some problems here. I'm at my age now. I want to be able to walk downtown and have a cup of coffee or have a hot dog or an ice cream cone or whatever, and sit down in a chair in the park downtown, as opposed to being scared or going out and buying 4 or 5 guns and sitting down there at night at about 5 or 6 o'clock. And if you knock on my door at 1 o'clock, you'll get shot. I mean, that's exactly where we are right now. It's really a sad note. We can't do that kind of thing. So look here, this is it. But my point is that this is where we're going to be going. This is the kind of conversation we're going to be having with folks that have got some background, and that folks that can lead. And we want to thank Chuck for being here with us today, and good luck for you. And you're going to be back here again.
Definitely.
Talk about this city council race. Okay.
Definitely.
All right, Chuck. Good job. Good job. Take care, folks. Back to what you believe in. See you later. See you next week.